What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we have a pretty special video. We have a podcast with my guy 760 Dom. This is a pretty good video. I recommend you guys tune in for the whole thing, and if you don't want to watch the whole 52 minutes, I recommend you put it in 2x so you can do it in like 26 minutes instead, but still get the full effects of the whole thing. So I recommend you guys do that if you would like to, but otherwise watch the whole thing and
What's up,
enjoy.
Dom?
What's up? How are we
How you
doing?
doing, man?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So, ready to get started?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. So, I guess we'll just start off by you can just introduce yourself.
Sure. So, for anyone on this live who doesn't know me, my name's Dom. I'm obviously a sneaker reseller, and I've been doing this for a year and a half. Obviously, a big part of what I've done is focus on making content, maybe even more than actually selling sneakers. So, I'm active on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I'm always experimenting with like Instagram Reels, IGTV, different formats of posts to see where I can maybe gain an edge. And now I'm looking into podcasts. So like this video will be downloaded after we're done and put onto Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else you look for podcasts. So that's just a little bit of what I'm working on.
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty cool how you not just resell, but do a lot of other things with it, kind of connecting it. Definitely one of like the only people you've kind of started a wave in a sense where other people are kind of starting to do some of that stuff. So it's pretty cool. But
Appreciate it.
yeah. So before you were sneaker reselling, what were you doing previously?
Yeah, so I was a full-time student at UCSB. I'm now on a gap year, and I'm undecided on if I'm going back or not, although I'm leaning towards not going back. Other than that, I umpired baseball games for 7 years, which if you saw me on live the other day, I talked about a lot. And that was an experience that, like I've said, has helped me gain a lot of capital to go into the sneaker game. And that was I think that was, I've always been interested in business and generating wealth and that kind of thing. So that was like an outlet for me to start working and getting money at an early age.
Yeah, definitely. So how old were you when you started umpiring, and how long did it last?
I was 13 and I did it pretty much up until the pandemic. I haven't worked a game since the pandemic started because obviously all the stuff got canceled. But yeah, again, 13 until basically March.
Okay, so um, how? Oh, so like, what would you say if someone was looking to start a resell business? How could they get started? Kind of, if they don't have much money or capital, how could they build some capital?
This is a great question. There's a couple ways to go at this, right? The first is obviously go get a part-time job, go do something that's generating capital so you can build it up, and then the reselling be on the side until you really build up your money. But the other way is if you can't get a job, because a lot of people are in the game where you have $50, you're too young to get a job, but you want to start reselling. So there's a couple of things you can keep in mind. The first thing that really comes to mind for me is you got to keep your money moving, right? So if you have $50 and you buy $50 of inventory and it sits for a month, you have nothing to do for a month, right? If you have one pair of shoes as your inventory and you sell it on eBay and you have to wait whatever it is, 21 days for your first eBay payment to go through before your account's verified, you're in trouble for 21 days. So one of the things to think about is buy items and inventory that can sell quickly and then prioritize selling on platforms. I think local really comes to mind because if you sell locally, you get the money right away and you can reinvest it and keep going.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess like another way would, if you have an item that is sitting for a while, what would you say would be the best advice to give somebody if they're having an item that's sitting and they really need some money, just to move around, get some new inventory?
It's tough. It's tough because my normal advice would be to cross list, right? The
Yeah,
biggest thing you do, if you have an item that you can't sell, you have to look to other platforms to really move it. But if you're also strapped down in a situation where you need the money quick so you can reinvest it, you're kind of between a rock and a hard place. And you have to decide if you want to hold out to get the amount of money you want quicker locally. Maybe you can drop the price. You can do GUA deals with people on Instagram, and there's a lot of people that are legit for that. But of course, there's also a lot of risk that comes with that. So I don't want to fully recommend that, but that's an option that you can look at. I guess, again, if you're really strapped for cash and you want to just get new inventory, your best bet's going to be to drop the price and keep moving. But I think there's space to be patient,
yeah,
like unless you really do need the money quickly. Maybe when you're starting, be willing to wait. As selling to goat's a good option too, because they have quick turnaround times. So you can sell, wait a week and get your money. So cross list and lower the price and
Definitely.
be.
Yeah. One more, like this is kind of a thing that I guess is kind of like pondered on, but like what's your opinions on taking a loss, moving on, and then reinvesting? Or what would you say about that? Is taking a loss okay?
A lot of people hate taking losses. I don't care. You know, here's the thing. I don't like to tax on shoes or price above what they're worth, and I don't like to sit on shoes for months at a time. So if I look back, right, let's say I bought a shoe that's worth 80 for $100, and I've realized that, right? So I've spent $20 more than the shoe is worth. You can't go back and change the past, right? You could shoot yourself in the foot by sitting on an $80 shoe and trying to get 120 for it and make profit and waste 2 months of time trying to get your profit, right? Or you can go back and say, well, shit, like I made a mistake. I paid too much for this piece of inventory. So now I'm going to take my loss and learn from it and move on. And I'm very much of the perspective that like a loss is not a loss if you've learned from it. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, definitely. As long as you kind of take it and move along with it and carry it with you. Um, so I guess we'll kind of move on to another kind of category, which would be like outside of reselling, more like making content and kind of building up your account, I guess. Like kind of like TikTok and just, yeah, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, of course. This is funny because yesterday was either yesterday or 2 days ago. I went live with Dylan, obviously, and we talked a lot about what I see as the opportunities right now. And Instagram Reels is the biggest one. And after I talked about it, I reviewed that podcast and realized that I have not been going hard on Instagram Reels lately. So I want to say, number one, the best and easiest opportunity to grow your following right now, especially if you're trying to do it in a way that generates you business results in the near term, is Instagram Reels. Hammer it 5 to 10 times a day. Every time you get a shoe in, talk about it. When you clean up a shoe, talk about it. When you sell the shoe, talk about it. Get content out there. So that's one thing. And that's something that I'm going to put my money where my mouth is going forward. I'm going back to my grind days when I was posting 5 to 10 times a day in short form on TikTok. I also really like YouTube because I don't think there's a lot of people really, really, really closely documenting what they do in reselling on a day-to-day basis. And it's something that's really time consuming. So I don't recommend it for everyone. But if you're in a position like, obviously you and me have enough going on and enough time. I mean, I don't know exactly what your time looks like, but we can record 15 YouTube videos a month about a day in our life and our experience as a reseller and get that content out there. And I think if one of the things to think about is where can you attack an angle that other people aren't doing? Right. So I see that on YouTube with the day in the life of a reseller stuff that I've been pumping out on a near daily basis.
Yeah, I think the day in the life videos do really well on YouTube, and then I'm not sure like on TikTok if they do that well, but they definitely do good on YouTube, like view wise and stuff. And then for Reels, like I've been realizing that they get a lot of views. Like even just like I posted a video on TikTok, it got like 200, 300 views, and then it got like 4,000 on Instagram Reels. It's just kind of different, I guess. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
I'm going to give my take on why that's happening because obviously I was one of the first people to go onto TikTok. And what I saw was that there's a huge audience of people on TikTok that want to consume content. And there's almost nobody making sneaker related content. And this was back in last December. So like, I don't know, 14 months ago now. The same thing, it's not as true on Instagram. A lot of the TikTok resellers are moving over to Instagram, but there's tons and tons of eyeballs on Instagram Reels. And proportionally to other platforms, mainly TikTok, there's a lot less sneaker resellers making consistent content. So I think today, like right this second, the best opportunity on social media is Instagram Reels.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I heard you saying like with Dylan that it was kind of the earlier form of TikTok, and I would definitely agree with that. Uh, yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there for sure. But yeah, okay. So I've pretty much gotten into some of those topics. So like on YouTube, you've been posting pretty much like daily. So like how has that been for you time wise? Does it take up a lot of time? Like, you know?
Yes. Yes. And okay, I want to say, first of all, I want to make two important things to say about YouTube. Actually, three. I want to start by saying I'm still small on YouTube and I still haven't had a video go really well. So everything I say about YouTube and about how much it may or may not help your business is based off me observing things as opposed to me actually living it. So come back in 5 months, we'll see how my YouTube strategy has worked. But with that said, YouTube has been a massive time investment for me on the video editing side, on the recording side, for all that stuff. And it's definitely been so time consuming to the extent that I'm probably doing a little bit less business in the short term than I would have if I weren't focused on YouTube. So it's definitely very much a long-term play. Another thing I'll say is that my brother's very involved in the operations of running this thing and buying shoes and helping me clean them and helping me package them and all that stuff. Even though if you guys follow me, you don't see him much because he doesn't like to be on camera. But I'll say that the work that he's done to keep us moving when I'm backlogged on videos to edit and things of that nature has really helped me invest the time into YouTube.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's nice that you have somebody who can work with you kind of and help you out with everything like that for sure. But so what was I gonna say about so
Sorry,
did you have any topics?
Yeah, I just got a phone call. Can you repeat the last thing you said?
Oh, I was just kind of trying to go into another topic. Did you have any other topics you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, I've obviously followed you for a while, and I don't watch as much content of other people as I wish I could. So why don't you tell me, because I know you started really young. Why don't you tell me how you got into it and what your experience was like? Because
Yeah,
I've seen
definitely.
a lot since I really started, since I found you on Instagram, basically.
Yeah, so I started when I was like 12 and I was just kind of reselling stuff out of my closet, just kind of like the base. And then my cousins came over and they were kind of introducing me like Supreme and stuff like that. Just kind of not really shoes, but streetwear. And then it kind of turned into me separating off and like getting interested in shoes. And then, I just kind of fell into the shoe, I guess you could say, like the shoe market, the community. And I just started reselling some shoes. I think the first thing I did was buy an Adidas 50% off code and buy some like NMDs and then flip them on Goat, or I would go to the Nike store and flip those on StockX and Goat, So I think that, definitely led into the way of starting. And then I kind of started the TikTok, which really helped me blow up. I think it was after you, Rob, everyone else who was on TikTok. And that definitely helped me gain a lot of followers. And yeah.
No doubt. I'm sure you know that the TikTok was like the time that we hit it on and the consistency that we posted with was a real like shot in the arm for the business that helped us grow really quick at a point because I wouldn't be where I'm at right now without TikTok. I guess I'm more curious. I think that learning about how other resellers started is fascinating. Like how different their business model was in the first maybe month of operating than it is now, and how much what kind of mistakes you made and how you learned from them. So if you want to talk more about your first month in reselling, I could definitely come back with my experience as well, and we can kind of
Yeah.
go at that. I'd also be curious to know how much of this audience watching right now is beginner resellers versus more experienced people.
Yeah, so definitely. I've definitely had a few like mistakes that I've made along the way, because I'm younger and, didn't know too much about it as others would. But yeah, I've gotten scammed. I've gotten scammed like one time. I bought a pair of shoes. I was doing a trade with this guy. It was my first pair of shoes that I bought really with like my own money. I got them at a retail store and I was doing a trade for some off-whites. And then the guy sent me an empty Coke bottle. So like that's kind of how I got started. And I guess it motivated me really to like work back and earn that money. I was so mad the day. And that's been probably like a year or two now, but it definitely motivated me in a way to where I wanted to get that money back and then build off of that, I guess too. But
Yeah, I love the chip on the shoulder attitude.
yeah,
When I was at school at UCSB, before I even sold my first pair of shoes, before I even knew I wanted to start reselling, I was talking, I was just hanging with some friends on a Friday night, and we were talking about like me wanting to get into business. And one of my friends told me directly to my face, "Dom, you won't sell shit." And
oh,
I felt that chip on the shoulder, man. I
yeah,
feel
definitely.
that.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, another thing I wanted to touch on was I heard you talking about kind of like Gary Vee and how he kind of introduced you, I guess, to like did he introduce you to like shoes or just like business reselling in general?
Definitely not business. Definitely content is a big thing that I took from him. I think a lot of my current attitude has roots with his message of like taking accountability for your mistakes, trying not to really listen to outside voices if you have strong opinions of yourself inside, and to try to cultivate those strong opinions of yourself. And I think the flip life and the hustle life, right, which is what built this portion of, I mean, that's what helped build this up. Just the opportunity that's there to go on the internet or to go out to garage sales or to go to the thrift and find items and flip them, I really found out through his content.
Yeah, definitely. Was there anybody else, or just mainly Gary Vee? And I heard you talking about you got a book from somewhere. Was it was it like a business book that kind of
Yeah, I'll go in depth on that. I just barely touched on that on the last one. This was a really long and important part of like my journey as becoming a business person. I mean, I don't know if I want to overstate. I hate overstating where I'm at. Like but whatever. But yeah, in my freshman year of college, I went really, really hard into investing, and it wasn't one book. It was a lot. I'll try to think of some of them off the top of my head, but it was, I wanted to, make money. I realized school wasn't my thing. I wanted to do well without being in school. And I looked towards, who are some of the best money makers in the world and how can I learn from them? And the guy I settled on was Warren Buffett. So what I wanted to do was learn as much about the stock market as possible. So it was like, let me think of how I went into it. I got 2 Warren Buffett books. They weren't written by him, but they were about his investing philosophy and strategy. And I read those. I read an intro to investing book before. So it went through a lot of what you're looking at in a company's financial statement. So whenever a company ends their quarter or year, they file a financial statement with the SEC that talks about the revenue they've generated, the profit they've generated, how much cash they have in the bank, how much money they owe to other people, all sorts of different cash flow analysis, income statement, and balance sheet, right? So the
yeah,
first thing I broke down was, how can I read all this information and get a feel for the financial position of a company, how strong it is, how well it could weather through bad economic times, what its growth potential looks like through the numbers. And then from there, once I kind of had my background in, reading a company's financials and stuff, I went into a bunch of books about philosophy. So Warren Buffett was one that comes to mind. There was one, I can't remember the author's name. There was one that was called How to Beat the Market with What You Already Know, which basically just said, one of the strong bases for your investing can be observing what's happening around you and taking business insight from that. I believe that was Peter Lynch. So that was a good book. But basically, another thing that constantly came up was how important psychology is to business and investing. So I ended up reading a lot of psychology books, and one that comes to mind that was very, very interesting was called Thinking Fast and Slow. Can't remember the author either, damn it. But yeah, The Power of Habit was another book I read in that time frame. I probably read 10 or 15 books related to investing and psychology, and read countless amounts of articles online to fill in the gaps of information that I didn't have. So that was a huge thing that built me up foundationally to end up having the interest that I have now. And it's cool because I rarely talk about it other than in these longer form podcasts.
yeah, for sure. And when you were reading those books, was it introducing you to the stock market, or just business philosophies, like you were saying?
At the time, I was cutting it up for stock market things, but I'll give you an example of how good investors, one of the things that Warren Buffett said was, good investors are also good business operators. And the reason is, let's say I were interested in investing in you and your business, right? That means I have to break down what you're doing and determine if it's good or bad, if you're running a good business or a bad business, right? I have to take information and process it in that way. And you can self-analyze yourself, right? So one of the things that again, we're going back to Warren Buffett. One of the things that he said is that in the long term, people that run good, honest business, communicate honestly with people about their shortcomings and their successes, and who just generally try to make the customer feel as good as possible about their purchase, those are the businesses that win in the long term, right? Because they get repeat customers, they get good relationships with other people that might want to do business with them. So I try to be as friendly as possible to every single person I talk to. That can lead to maybe an opportunity where I get on the right podcast and I get a bunch of new exposure and it builds me up more, right? So just basically my point is learning about how to evaluate a business can be really good for trying to operate your own.
Yeah, and it definitely shows because I just bought the hyperspaces off you like I think it was a week ago. I just
Yeah.
got them today in like A1 packaging and the thank you card, which it goes a long way. Like
Yep.
compared to like a business card, like a thank you note in
Yeah.
every is crazy.
I agree. I actually want to talk about that if you don't mind, the
Yeah,
business
sure.
card. When I do my packaging, right? The only thing I care about is if I'm packaging in a certain way, is the way I'm packaging bringing value to the person opening the box, right? So some people will put a sticker on the box and stuff their package with 8 business cards. And I respect what they're doing. They're trying to build their brand. They're trying to spread their name. But I've always had the mindset personally that that's not really bringing much value to the person on the other end, right? Because whenever I get a package with 8 business cards and a sticker on it, the first thing I do is get out a blow dryer and get the sticker off, and then I throw away the business cards. Whereas a
Yeah.
thank you card, I'm not asking for anything. I'm not promoting. I'm not branding. I'm just saying genuinely, like, thank you for buying. I package the material, or I package the shoes as nicely as possible, because when you get that box, um, I want it to be in good condition. I want you to get exactly what you purchased. And I know how UPS and USPS and all these shipping companies just throw boxes around while they're shipping. So I want to take the extra time to make sure that you still get your item exactly how I told you you would.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the things I'm trying to work on is because, like some of the people like clown on me because like my shoes, I say the conditions are wrong and stuff. And, like I don't show some of the flaws, but like you definitely do a great job of showing every flaw. And yeah, I just love buying from you because I know what I'm getting, right?
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so yeah, I mean, any other topics you wanted to hit on or
I'm trying to think. I mean, I always feel good when I go deep into my background, because I did a lot of learning before I did this that gives me a different perspective in the game. Um, I don't know. I think we've covered a lot. If you have anything you want to wrap up on, I'm good with it.
um, yeah, so I guess if there's any questions.
Yeah, let's do Q&A. That's great.
Okay, so one of the questions on here is, uh, I guess he's asking both of us, well, why don't you get into brick flips? Have you ever thought about getting into brick flips or anything like that?
Yeah, I've taken a couple of little outlet runs and not had a lot of success. One of the things for me is I'm probably being a lot more cautious than the average person right now, related to the virus. So I don't like to spend a lot of time stores. And if you've ever taken a stab at brick flipping, obviously the game is to go into the store, look up all the style codes, and look for items that are profitable. And I just don't like to spend that much time indoors with other people. So that's a big reason I haven't started it. And then at least in the past, I've thought about it. Right now, I'm already super, super busy with the investments that I'm making. Like, for example, YouTube is taking up a ton of my free time. So at the moment, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me.
Yeah, for sure. And one other thing I wanted to ask you was, I saw you started like your website like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Did you kind of stop that because I've seen like not just on yours but other people have like attempted scams or fraud on the websites.
No, it wasn't that. Basically, with Wix, by the way, I want to go back and ask you about brick flipping in a second, so remind me. But when it comes to Wix, you need to get approved to receive payments. And what happened was they saw me reselling Jordan or Nike and Adidas products, and they said basically, at least temporarily, indefinitely, I am suspended from being allowed to receive payments. So I'm working on getting that fixed, and by working on it, I really just mean I'm waiting for them to freaking respond to my emails. So it's been a frustrating process, but I'll be going hard on the website. If they tell me I'm allowed to sell there, I'm gonna get busy selling there. That's the plan.
Yeah, definitely because the website could be pretty helpful if you're moving a lot of pairs. You don't have to,
Yeah,
send anything.
absolutely. Especially for me, because I'm having inventory build up, and there's only so much that you can sell on Instagram. And right now, my second platform has been Goat, and things don't always move fast on Goat. So having the website would be a huge plus. But I'll continue to work on that going forward.
Yeah, definitely. So you said you wanted to touch on brick flipping about me?
Yeah. So it sounded like. So I'm curious about your experience with brick flipping, because obviously we didn't talk super long about it, but the vibe I was getting is that you kind of started in that brick flip space. So maybe talk about how you did it when you first started, and then how much are you still brick flipping now? Like, how has that evolved? If you're still doing it, how much do you do it now? And if you're not, why did you kind of stop with it?
Yeah, so whenever I started, I lower capital, which is kind of why I did that. So I just went to the Nike store and, like you said, searched up all the SKUs on StockX and Go, and I would go to different like Marshalls, the Nike store, Nordstrom Rack, Ross, like all these, and just look to see where I could sell them if I could make any money. And then what I would do is I would usually go like every Sunday. I would go to the Nike outlet and just look for shoes to sell, and that worked out pretty well for like a month or like a good while. And I built up kind of some capital there, and then I kind of transferred into more hype shoes or more expensive, like quicker sellers. And one
Yeah.
thing with that was they were taking a while to sell. So like recently I took a break, and then I kind of started back brick flipping a few months ago. I joined Lucid Bricks. I don't know if you know what that is, like a brick group.
Yeah.
Basically it's all the links and stuff. So I joined one of those, and like I feel like I wasn't active enough because I was already so like all my time was being consumed by other shoes, not just these bricks. But occasionally I still do buy the occasional brick that's like under payout. I follow like a Twitter account, and they'll post something
Yeah.
that's Sunday. I'll probably buy it just because. And I'll still go to the Nike outlet because I just like doing that. I think it's fun. But yeah, I still do it occasionally, just not as much as I used to. And yeah, I mean the brick group was like $50, and like every month it's just kind of stacking up. And I'm realizing I don't use this that much, so I ended up just canceling it and just doing this more than bricks.
Definitely makes sense. The bricks take a while to move. I did remember really early in my reselling. So I don't know, last December of 2019, I went to Ross a lot. I was in Santa Barbara at school, and there was a Ross like a block away from me, and there was probably like a month and a half stretch where I had a lot of success reselling, and I kind of the whole store was like overstocked, and I'm assuming they just had leftover Christmas stock from other people, and I was able to find a lot of profitable items for a short period of time. So that was interesting. I definitely um, did more like brick flipping type stuff, going to Ross and looking for flips like earlier in the game. But again, I think a big reason I don't now is a lot of the times when I go in, I don't buy anything, and obviously I'm already pretty busy with everything going on.
Yeah, definitely. I remember like one of the TikToks you made. I think it's like one of the most viewed was those $3 Jordan like cleats. It was. I just remember seeing it, but yeah.
Dude, okay, wait, that's funny. I have two experiences to touch on. The first is that the video, like I started on TikTok, and I was kind of like, I'm going to be going back to school soon. I'm going to get, this is, oh, sorry, to give context, it was winter break, so I was at home with my family. And I was like, man, I'm going to try TikTok because Gary Vee's been hammering it, but like, I really want to get a following before I go back to school, because otherwise I'm just going to get clowned on by my housemates for like making TikTok videos all day long. So I was really, really hoping that one video would do really well. My goal was to get to 10,000 followers over winter break, which I didn't quite get to, but I got kind of close. And there's one video of me going to Ross and buying a pair of camo Vans that got like 700,000 views, and I picked up like 6,000 followers in a week off of that, which was absolutely insane. So that was cool. And then the other thing that I'll just briefly touch on because it was funny, the video of me buying the $3 cleats was just filled with comments telling me how much asshole I was for taking away from poor people and shopping at Ross when I didn't need to, which I could categorically sit here and complain about why I don't like those statements, but there's no point.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
yeah, that's pretty funny. Okay, another question on here I guess we could get into is where do you guys see yourselves in 5 years? If you want to go first, and then I'll go after you.
Yeah, it depends a lot on the day, man. I'm finding that these longer form podcasts, like I talked about this a little bit the other day too. I feel like it's really important to realize, especially if personal brand is part of your aspiration alongside sneaker reselling, it's important to realize you don't want to put yourself into a box. And I feel like in my own head, I've put myself in a bit of a box on Instagram and TikTok, where a lot of what I post, I keep around sneakers and I don't talk about other things as much. And I'm finding that I really like these podcasts as a format where I can go off for 15 minutes and talk about, me learning about investing and how it helped me with business, or, you know, my story of how I had a random TikTok video blow up, and that's paid dividends for me up to a year after it actually happened. So I think that I want to find myself a little bit deeper in the podcast space in 5 years and have a personal brand that's built around really focusing on building a positive mindset internally for people, for trying to encourage people to be happy and find things that they enjoy and execute on it, and to not listen to noise from the outside. So I think I personally would like to see my brand evolve into something that's more deeper and interpersonal to helping other people, as opposed to being super, super narrow on shoes.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of space to like grow with the positive mindset, you know. But yeah, there's definitely a lot you can do. But yeah, another thing I kind of remember you saying like a while back, because you know, people ask these questions, they get so like wondering on your TikToks, their comments and stuff. They're like, "Are you going to open a store soon?" It's like, would you ever consider opening a store in the coming years, or are you kind of on to the podcast?
No, I am super, super. I'm surprised I didn't come up with that answer when you said that. Yeah, no, in 5 years I will have a store.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, so in 5 years for me, it would, I don't know, I'm like, I'm a freshman in high school, so like, I still have school to do and like other things, so I have to like figure out a plan, but I definitely want to continue into business, and whether it be shoes or not, I definitely want to do shoes as long as I can because I'm into it, you know, now. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a hobby of mine that I like to do. So I'd like to carry this on as long as I could, but after like high school, I don't really know where I'll be. I guess it just kind of depends day by day. So yeah.
Yeah. You have any thoughts of like what I part of me hates these questions because usually I don't have a good answer for them, but today I came up with a good answer, so that's cool. But do you have any ideas of like maybe two or three things that come up in your mind that would be like you need to have them in 5 years, whether it be super general or like super specific?
Yeah, I definitely like my dream since I was like probably 10 is being like a YouTuber, like full time. Like that's definitely what I want to do. Yeah, like that's just what I wanted to do since I was younger. It's like just make you know, it's videos like vlogs daily, maybe not sneaker related, maybe business related, but I definitely want to do something with YouTube. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then also, if you open like a storefront, you could definitely have a YouTube channel like Cam's Kicks. I don't know if you've seen him, but I mean, he's blown up just from posting videos of him just selling shoes in a storefront. So, I mean, you can definitely like whatever you do in life, you can make a YouTube channel around it, which I think is really cool because it can provide good insights to others. It's like I definitely want to do something involving YouTube. But yeah.
Yeah, the first of all, with Cam's Kicks, I went through like a progression on my thoughts on stores. And at first I thought like a storefront was just dead money. Like say a year ago today, I thought like, yeah, storefront, you know, you pay all the money for rent. It's not really worth it, whatever. And then maybe 5, 6 months ago, I realized like, okay, it's good for selling if you can market it, but it's going to be a lot better for buying inventory, right? Because people come in, they have shoes they need to get rid of. You can get good deals. So I was like warming up to the idea of having a store, and then watching. I've seen Cam's Kicks and Sneak City, those two YouTube accounts, do really, really well just setting up the camera in their store and recording everything. And I think that's super dope. So the content, I think the potential for content on a store is definitely one of the reasons that I've really warmed up on the idea of opening one myself.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool to do in the future. Just like, you know, but yeah. And one thing that I kind of wanted to, or yeah, this guy's saying that Cam's making a killing on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, he's probably making a lot of money off YouTube plus his store. So it's probably helping him a lot, bringing a lot of business in and stuff. Overall,
Yeah.
just really good marketing ways and stuff like that. But um, so let's see, what was the other thing? Um,
What do you think of mystery boxes? If you
what'd you
want to
say?
talk, what do you think of mystery boxes? Because I have some interesting.
Boxes. Um, like I've been selling them, and I kind of say that I take part in this too, but I mainly just throw in like bricks that don't sell. But like I'm just gonna say it because like I get clowned on once again every time someone gets a mystery box from me. I need a refund. I'm like, okay, you bought a mystery box, but like I don't know. I just think it's kind of like stupid, honestly. Like you're buying a mystery box. I don't know.
I tend to think that mystery boxes are, and I say this because Cam's obviously gotten clowned on for his mystery boxes. I think mystery boxes are the dumbest thing in the sneaker game because either, right? So let's say you're expecting to make 20% profit. For some reason, if you give me 500 for a mystery box, you're expecting me to give a free 20% of profit instead of giving you $500 of shoes. Now, if I work really hard, I mean, my average profit margin is like 25%. So if I'm working hard to get really good deals and then just giving them away for free and just destroying my entire profit margin, that makes sense for me. But then on the other hand, if you buy a mystery box for me and I don't give you profit margin, then you're unhappy. So it seems like it's a guarantee that somebody is unhappy in every mystery box put together. And I think it's so ridiculous. I think it's just,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't get it.
yeah, it's bad. I mean, I just do it like I've seen some people doing it. I was like, okay, I'll try this out. But every time someone gets them, they're so mad at me. I'm like, why did you buy this? Like,
Right. Yeah, and especially if you're not making, I don't know how your mystery boxes work, but especially if you're not making a profit guarantee. If you give me $500, why would you expect to receive $650 of shoes unless I explicitly told you that's what I was going to do, right? That
yeah,
always that always just baffles me.
yeah, it does. I mean, and usually when you buy one of these, you get so mad at the other person. Like, this has happened to me. They'll get so mad at me, they'll like unfollow me and like just like block me, and it'll just burn a relationship over a mystery box. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it's very smart. But what was another one? I was just had one. Um, okay, this guy asked. Okay, I have a question for you. So, what what year are you in college?
So I did 3 full years. So I, let's just say years 1 and 2. Actually, year 1 I got great grades. Like I got like a 3.95 or something, which is pretty good. And then my second year, um, I started coming close to failing some classes here and there, but like I never did. But the whole first 2 years I coasted through. I took the bare minimum amount of classes to be a full-time student, and like I did my thing. Year 1, my grades were great. Year 2, my grades were good enough. Um, and then year 3, I think I failed 2 or 3 classes and like just barely skated through. Um, so I would be in year 4 if I were in school right now. But if I were to go back, it would be, I'd need more like a year and a half to graduate, as opposed to 1 more year, because I failed a major class, and there's a lot of material from previous major classes where I just skated by with a C, where like everything builds on top of the last class, and I just didn't really learn the stuff I needed. So I've done 3 years is the short answer.
Yeah, and definitely one thing I've kind of learned is like you don't have to have a college degree to do most things. Like, there's this guy on TikTok. It's kind of unrelated, but he asks people what they do for a living with the nice cars. I'm sure you've seen it. It's like, have you seen that?
I actually haven't, no.
Oh, really? Well, like he goes up to these people in like really nice cars, and he's like, "What do you do for a living?" And then most people will say what they do, and they're like, "Did you go to college?" And most, like, some of them are like, "Yes," but like a good amount of them are like, "No." So like, what I'm learning is you don't have to have a college degree to be successful in life, even though some people will tell you that. So
Yeah, I think that's more true than ever now if you're willing to put in the work, just because like, again, we'll go back to, this is something I really learned from Gary Vee that he said over and over. And it's like, if you wanted to build a business in 1970, right? You need money. Like, you need a storefront, unfortunately. You need to be able to put out print ads. You need to be able to put out radio ads. Like, you need money. You need capital. But like, any kid on the internet can get on TikTok with $500 and some passion for sneakers and start grinding away at a business, right? Like, I mean, I know you didn't start with much money. If you want to say your exact amount, that'd be interesting. I know George Sneaker Souffle, who I've talked to a lot, started with $700. And then Dylan Sangley, who I talked to the other day, I don't know if I fully believe it was this low, but I haven't talked to him that much about his intro story, but he said he started with like $40, which I think is, I mean, it's very, very possible because his origin story was a lot of thrifting and flipping, so it makes sense. But the point is the barriers for business in 2021 are exponentially lower than they were in like 1970, 1980, 1990, even 2000, even 2010, which means that any person on the internet, idea, energy can go to work.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many opportunities everywhere around you. But yeah, I started with $100 just brick flipping, like you said, and then in a few years built up off of that, and then started TikTok and Instagram and everything else. So yeah, it just follows. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
No doubt.
Let's see if we got any other good questions in here. Um,
By the way, this is interesting. I can't see the comments on the side. I don't know why. I haven't seen them
oh,
the entire.
you can't? Oh,
I don't really mind. Actually, it's better because I can focus more on us talking. But I don't know why that is.
yes. There's not that many great questions in here. I'm gonna be real, but
That's
just
cool.
just like some random stuff. But yeah. Any other topics you wanted to hit on?
Um, let's make this our final wrap up. Why don't we try to think of two pieces of advice each that might be outside of the box that we learned from when we were coming up that might help someone else?
Definitely. Yeah.
But
Did you say you want to go first?
you start because I'm gonna think of one.
Okay. So, some advice I could give is, uh, this is like kind of generic, but you don't have to be the same as everyone else. Like in reselling specifically, there's a lot of accounts that, like, follow people, I guess, like, and they just kind of do what they do. But one thing you have to do is definitely do it your own way because you're not the same as everybody else. You're going to be making different content. And I mean, just starting other things. So you definitely can't base it off others because you're going to have your different story and the way you do things. So that's one piece of advice I could give. And another would be, I guess, just like there's going to be a lot of people, it's going to sound like cringy, but there's a lot of people that be like, you can't do it or anything. But there's a lot of people that have told me, like, why do you do that? But anyway, you can definitely take that and just build up off of it and then just get stronger and better at it, reselling and stuff. But it's pretty generic, but that's what I got.
I mean, I agree very, very strongly. I mean, I could talk for 20 minutes just about those two things. I think that's amazing advice. Let's see. So for me, I'm going to start with one that's just stupid obvious, but I've watched a lot of resellers not do this. And what I'm going to say, you're a starting reseller, right? And a lot of times when you're just starting, you're not great at sourcing yet. You end up taking tight margins, things of that nature, right? I'm sure, did you have an experience like that yourself?
Definitely. Yeah.
One thing that I personally did, and which was really dumb, and I've seen a lot of other people do, and I don't want to come off too harsh, but if you're operating on tight margins and you need to squeeze every single dollar out of your sales so that you can make a solid profit, literally at least make sure you have a set of brushes and soap and water and you're cleaning your shoes, because that extra $10 to $15 that you can add just by putting in a little bit of elbow grease with no particular skill can be the difference between making $25 per shoe consistently and potentially not making any money at all for beginners, depending on where you started. Because I know for the first 3 months of my business, my average profit margin was like fucking $15. Like I wasn't making jack shit, but if I cleaned everything a little better, it might have been 30, which would have been a little bit better. And especially if you're starting with low money, it's gonna really help you go and grow and get better. Shoot, I have a second one and I'm blanking. This is a good one. This is very outside of the box, right? So I learned by experience completely. I jumped in the game, I did my thing, I learned as I went. If you haven't started yet, or if you're early in the process, it might be smart for you to take a week, and this is hard work. This is like, it's gonna take some focus. Take a week before, just at a random time, spend 2 hours a night for a week, or maybe even longer. I mean, this is something I still do fairly regularly. Go through every resource online and find that documents real versus fake sneakers and become an expert. Like, really know what you're talking about. Don't rely on check. Don't rely on somebody else's legit check. Don't be afraid to take great deals on the internet because you don't know if a shoe is real or fake. actually take the time and have the humility to really try to be an expert on real versus fake shoes in the sneakers you decide to flip. And having that level of confidence and that level of knowledge is gonna pay massive dividends. I mean, like, for example, take GOAT as a company, or even Check as a company, because they've easily done millions in revenue at this point. The infrastructure, the backbone that is making them their money is they are better at legit checking than the average person by a wide margin. And I think that's something that is an underrated competitive advantage that resellers can have, is taking advantage of market inefficiencies in local marketplaces or on eBay or on Mercari, because they can legit check better than the next guy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a lot of people that like won't take the extra 10 minutes to clean a shoe, or like the extra, like you said, like 30 minutes to an hour or 2 hours a night just to learn and study up on legit checking. And that's something I never did. I really never got introduced to legit checking. And then I kind of started to study up, and it kind of came easier when I had the shoes in hand and kind of learned off that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I learned a lot from experience too, but I also have learned a lot from reading and from watching videos and from even observing. Like Check has a full explore page with pictures of real versus fake shoes. Like, you could pick a shoe you want and fucking study the pictures.
yeah, definitely. Um, there's two questions I just wanted to touch on really quick, if you don't mind. So there's this one: how much do you try to make off each shoe? I guess this would be margin wise or like profit wise, if you want to go into that.
Yeah, there's a couple factors going to it. My average gross margin percent is around 25%, so I like to hit that. Normally, if I'm not gonna make 40 or maybe even 35 for a shoe, I usually decide it's not really worth the time, so I'll try to pass. Another thing that plays a big role, I'll pick a shoe off the rack for this. Like, never mind, I'll just talk about if a shoe is gonna take me 3 hours to clean, I'm gonna have to scrub the uppers, I'm gonna have to stain and remove a spot, I'm gonna have to acetone the bottoms, I'm gonna have to run them through the ice box. It's gonna take a lot of work to restore. I need at least 70, 80, 90, $100 for it. But if I know a shoe's coming in VNDS, I'm gonna pull it out of the box and list it for sale. I'm not putting in a single second of time, right? Because obviously time is an important resource when you're doing as much as me and you are. If I find that that's the case, I might go as low as $30, right? Because I'm saving so much time on the cleaning front. Because like, I'll come up here for 2 to 3 hours a night and clean shoes to stay caught up. So I think that's an important consideration to it.
Yeah. And one other thing, like how many pairs usually do you move? Like say like weekly, daily, or like monthly, just either one of those, which if you wanted to talk about that.
I think I moved like 130 pairs last month. Um, and I'm just trying to keep growing that.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, definitely keep on build off that, and yeah, for sure. Um, there's another question on here. This is kind of interesting. If there was a website like StockX with much lower rates, would you guys use it? And I think the obvious answer would be yes, of course. But like, what would your opinions be if a new website popped up with lower than StockX rates? Would you be using it?
Yeah, and it actually exists. It's called eBay. They do exactly what StockX does. They authenticate. They have an authentication center. They partnered with SneakerCon in New York, and they have an authentication center for every single brand new dead stock Nike or Adidas shoe that's over $200. So yeah, it's basically the exact same business model as StockX, and they currently have no seller fees. So I'll tell you, the first thing I did when I saw that was I decided I was going to run an experiment for social media, because I'm always trying to think of what kind of content I can make. And I bought a just horrendously bad pair of fake Yeezys, and I was like, all right, like, let's see if this works, you know? So that's the first thing I would do, is test it and really look for, because obviously when there's something new and novel like that, and there's a bunch of content creators out there that need content to make, there's going to be a lot of people giving their opinion on whether the service is good or bad. So I personally tested it a little bit. I bought a real pair of shoes through the eBay authentication service, and I bought a fake pair just to see how it worked. And so far, the experience has been good. I've seen quite a few pieces of content on TikTok and YouTube and different places about people's experience with that service, and it's been very good. So for me, like, honestly, it's funny I say it like this. I haven't really used it for selling, which I guess in hindsight I really should be. But yeah, I think it's a really good service. And like I said, the first two things that come to mind for me is make content about it because it's interesting, and watch other people's content about it to judge if I want to use it or not.
Yeah, yeah, I saw you the other day. You bought like those Jordan 5. Was it like the grapes? You
Yeah.
bought those off eBay. So like, was that the pair that you bought?
Yeah, 175. I'll pull them out for the people watching if I can find them. I can't find them. They're somewhere back here. Yeah, I got them for 175. It went through something like that, 165, 175. It went through the eBay authentication service. It has the eBay tag on it. I can take my phone out, pull out my camera, and scan the little tag on it, and it comes up with all the information about when the shoe was purchased, what size it was, that it was bought dead stock and authenticated by SneakerCon through eBay, like all that stuff. I think it's dope. I mean, I think the tag is a great way to try to prevent fraud because every single tag is linked to a specific order. So it's not as easy to fake as a StockX tag or like one of those little goat cards. So yeah, I mean, I think everything that I've gathered so far tells me that the eBay service model is actually quite innovative and really good. So I like what they're doing in one respect also, but on the other hand, because I buy so much of my stuff on eBay, I am worried that they're gonna jack their fees back up eventually as they build out their service. So from watching other businesses and being interested in innovation, I think it's really cool and exciting. And from my own business perspective, I kind of wish they weren't doing it selfishly, but it's cool. It's dope. I'd look into it.
Yeah, it is. And like for those Jordan 5s, like what are they going for on StockX? Because that's one of the positives of eBay is like there's different people listing it. It's not like a specific market as StockX and Go. There's the biz and ask and stuff.
Yeah, so they alternate in sale prices anywhere between 170 and 280. So I'm kind of pricing on the high on StockX and just playing the waiting game to make $50. It's easy money, just got to be patient. Definitely not, like I said, it's there's no cleaning whatsoever involved, which is part of the reason I'm willing to wait and to take a tighter profit margin. But yeah, I think I'll get 250-ish on StockX eventually.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good profit. You don't have to do anything to them. So,
Exactly.
but yeah, I guess I don't really have anything else unless you had anything else you wanted to touch on.
I think we hit on a lot of stuff, and I think that was good. So I appreciate everyone watching. I think it's dope that there are people who watch this all the way through, and hopefully you will be listening to on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast, or on 502 Shoebox YouTube, because I think it's going there too. So thank you for watching. It was fun. I'm glad we got to touch on a lot of things, and we can do this again sometimes for sure.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining, and hopefully I can come on to the 760 cast one time.
Well, you'll be on the 760 cast with this one, so stay tuned.
For sure, for sure. All right. Well,
Bye,
thanks a
bro.
lot. I'll see you later. Peace out.
I hope you guys did enjoy that, and if you did, make sure you guys leave a comment if you guys want to see some more podcast types like this, and leave a like, subscribe, and make sure you follow Dom on all of his socials. They'll all be linked below. So yeah, thanks for checking me out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.